welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrin if you're new around, and if you've been here for my previous videos, thanks for coming back. So in today's video I want to talk about the Amazon Prime production Culpa. Honestly, just because I like the film, which is not true for the sequel. So I also want to talk about the sequel, which we'll do next time. But in order to get us all on the same page, I thought it would be fun to go through Culpa. Yeah, so let's get ready. I hope you make yourself comfortable, get yourself something to drink, and also if you feel like putting this on in the background while you're procrastinating or tidying up your room or whatever, feel free to do this. You don't have to watch the film in order to watch this video, because I will go through everything that happens, which means this video is full spoiler for Culpa. So if you don't have Amazon Prime, if you have watched the film but don't want to rewatch it in order to watch the sequel or whatever, this is the video for you. Okay, so spoiler warning in, let's get going, okay? So, oh, first of all, disclaimer. Oh, it's already a little bit messy, but we'll just keep going, okay? Disclaimer, I really like the first film. I think it's fun. I mean, is it a bit unhinged? Yes. Is the drama kind of unnecessary? Also yes. But I think it's a fun film to watch. It's entertaining. It's got everything, genre-wise in a way. And, it's just a good time. It's a fun time. Which is not true for the sequel. Again, we'll get to that a little bit later, or in the next video, depending on how long this will be. So, buckle up. Cars are racing, hearts are racing. This is Culpa. Okay, so Culpa is a YA romance story and based on a book which I haven't read. So I can only talk about the film. I don't know whether this is a good adaptation. I don't know whether some things make more sense when you've read the book. And I don't know how it ends, right? It's a trilogy, so there's another film to come. And I don't know how it ends. If you've read the books, feel free to leave your spoiler comments. I would love to know, because like, what else could there be for the third film? Like, I'm curious. Okay, so what is this film about? This film is about our girl Noah, right? I'll show you up close. This is Noah. We'll put her in the center of everything. And the film starts with Noah packing up her stuff. Right? So she's been living with her mother and now they're moving. Where? We don't know. Why? We don't know yet. But what we know is that she's not really enthusiastic about the move, right? So she doesn't seem very happy about packing up her stuff, right? Also, excuse me for my script. I put it like down here, you can't see that. So whenever I'm looking down there, it's because my script is there, okay? Okay, so Noah, our main girl, is packing up her stuff, and for some reason the rest of the house is not packed up at all. She's just putting like stuff in her bag. I suppose the rest will be packed up by some other people a bit later, but like the way she's packing her stuff, it looks as if they're leaving everything behind, right? And I guess this is the case, right? So, while she's packing, she sees one of her framed pictures on one of the dressers, right? And this picture shows a little girl and presumably her father in racing clothes and sitting on a car, right? So on the horn of the car. And we get the idea that this is her as a little girl. So she's looking at this picture kind of wistfully and puts it back on the dresser, but then she comes back and packs it into her bag, so she's not leaving that behind. We'll come back to that. Okay, so then Noah's in the car, and who's with her? Her mother. Like, I honestly had to look up her name because I think it is never mentioned, at least not in the first film, but her name is Rafaela. This is her. So, Rafaela and Noah are driving somewhere, and Noah is reading a book, basically in order to ignore her mother, who's trying to talk to her, but she's like, oh. And Noah's not like other girls, right? So what is she reading? She's reading Pride and Prejudice. And we're like, yeah, of course. This is a YA new adult romance, toxic romance. Of course she's reading the classics. Of course, right? But also the, like, underlying notion of this is that we know that Pride and Prejudice is kind of an enemies to lovers story. And also, if you know that, Jane Austen wanted to publish, or like I think the first print even was published under a different title, and that was First Impressions. So maybe that's a little bit of foreshadowing for Noah and her upcoming love interest. Okay, so Mom's trying to talk to Noah, but Noah's not interested because Darcy is way more interesting, right? So she's ignoring her mother. And her mother won't stop talking. It's like, oh, we really went through a lot and we deserve this. So whatever they're going towards, this is to start a new life, right? To leave everything behind. Okay, so also we learn Noah's 17. Is that important? I don't know. It's important for the genre, I guess, so that it's young adult going on new adult, right? Okay, and then they arrive at a huge mansion, right? This is kind of a beach villa. It's huge, right? And who lives there? Rafaela's new husband, Will, right? Will is the epitome of what every love interest in a romance book looks like, just aged up a little bit, right? He's got dark hair, a beard, and he's a billionaire. That's convenient. So we're happy for Rafaela that she got herself a rich husband, right? He also seems very nice, right? We have to say that for him too, right? These two really seem to like each other, right? Noah, of course, is an angry teenager. She's not very happy about her mother's remarriage, and she lets everybody know that she isn't happy to be uprooted and brought to this new home, because that means she had to leave her friends behind, her boyfriend, her school, everything, and start anew with this rich guy. And she hates rich people. She'll change her mind on that, but she hates rich people. Because, of course, right? Okay. So, she also, because she hates rich people, she doesn't want to accept help from the house staff. So, Will is the kind of man who has a lot of staff around. There is a housemaid, there is a driver, there's a butler, and I was like, no, I don't need any of your help. Of course, they are not very happy about that because it's their job to help her, but she's like, no. Again, she'll change her mind on that. And I mean, the house staff didn't get pictures, I'm sorry, but we love them, right? They're Team Noah. We like them. Okay, so also, I remember talking to friends about this film, and they were like, it seems like Noah hasn't been to Rafaela and Will's wedding. I think she has been, but it's like, it seems like Noah doesn't really know Will at all, so the idea is that they met and instantly got married. So maybe someone who's read the books can fill us up on this, because thinking of the sequel, this is not what happened. Right? So we don't know. They haven't been living together prior to their marriage, and Noah has never been to his home, which is weird. But also, I do believe that, right? I believe that. Because someone was like, how does some mother marry a guy and not include her daughter in any of this? That is true, right? That does happen. So, also, I don't know about their wedding. Maybe they got married on the beach somewhere. Maybe they eloped. We don't know. But Noah definitely hasn't met Will's family at the wedding, which I also find weird, but not too weird, right? So it's just for the plot, basically, right? Okay, so Will and Rafaela show Noah around in the house, right? So because he's rich, he's got a spa, a pool, lots of cars, but she only asks for the library because she's not like other girls, right? Okay. But then Rafaela shows her room, and it's really nice. I mean, like, we are supposed to think that these two are close to each other, that they really like each other, care for each other, and used to have a close connection prior to Will. But yeah, I don't buy that, to be honest, but it doesn't matter, because Mom here designed Noah's room according to what she thinks Noah likes. Like, she painted the walls the colors that Noah likes, she put in clothes that she thought she would like, and books and stuff, and she says, you deserve all of this, and I could never give you any of this, but now I can, because my new rich husband is paying for everything. And of course Noah's not happy about that. So what does she do? She calls her friend, right? Just to complain about everything. And again, she's a teenager, she's 17. It makes sense, right? If anyone says she's annoying, no. Someone's calling. Hold on. Well, that was off to a great start. Okay, so we're moving on. We left off with Noah getting a tour of her new home and being in her room, right? So she's moping around because she doesn't want to be with Will and Rafaela. And again, this makes sense. She's a teenager. She's not too happy to leave all her friends behind and to see her mom and this new guy she doesn't know and she kind of doesn't trust. Makes sense, right? We're not blaming Noah for being a teenager, right? Like, it's hard enough already, right? Okay, so she calls her friend, who didn't get a picture because she's a mean girl. And, like, sorry for the actress, but yeah, her friend is not a good friend, so she didn't get a picture, right? She calls her best friend to explain the situation to her, to just rant a little about Mom, Will, and all these rich people, right? Because she's like, eat the rich. Again, she'll change her mind, right? Because it does have some good things, right, to be rich. Okay, so she's on the phone with her friend. I forgot her name even. Like, I don't even know her name. But it doesn't matter. And she's like, oh yeah, all of these rich people, they're so terrible. They have, like, lots of cars. And then she goes down to the kitchen, opens the fridge, and goes like, oh, I bet they don't have anything to eat in the fridge, because rich people don't eat, apparently. She's like, I bet they don't even have a sandwich. And when she closes the fridge, what does she see? This is super cringy, and I apologize for this cringy picture, but this is Nick's personality. So we gotta put this on the wall, right? Nick, right? We did learn from Rafaela that Will has a son. That's him. Nicolas. Right? So I hope I pronounce all of these names correctly. It's set in Spain. I don't know where exactly it's set, but it is a Spanish production, so technically, like, we have to say Rafaela, and I speak German as a native language, so rolling the R, not my strong suit. But for some reason, Will's family is English. I don't know. I guess that worked better with the Darcy comparison. Okay, so we have Nicolas, or Nick. We'll call him Nick, right? He's leaning against the fridge, making fun of Noah, and I guess this is their meet cute moment. Is it cute though? I mean, it does work, right? It does work. I can't lie, I really like this film, so I'm like, it does work. And he's like, oh, of course we don't have anything to eat in the fridge. So he's playing along. He's like, you must be my father's wife's daughter. What's your name again? And she's like, what? You don't know my name? And this is why many people are like, what kind of family is this? Because apparently they have never met before. Even though their parents got married, they have never met before. So one of them wasn't attending the wedding, or maybe both of them, but also because the whole conflict that builds up over this film and the next film is that this family, the Leicester family, that's their name, Leicester, is so important and so popular, like famous in that sense, that everyone is always interested in their private lives and they have to present themselves as the perfect family and stuff. I'm like, how did they get married? Like, was there no press? And if so, did they not include their children into their perfect wedding? Like, that questionable. The fact that they did get married without the children and without the children knowing each other, believable. Believable. Kind of, right? Semi-believable. Anyway, so, he's like, you must be my new stepsister. My new sister. Like, he makes these cringy jokes about Noah being his little sister now. And given the fact that this is a romance between these two, that is weird. But, you know, he's teasing her. And I'm like, I grew up with Cassandra Clare books, so who am I to judge? So maybe he also read City of Bones and really liked it. So I don't know. So their first encounter doesn't go very well because Noah's first impression of Nick is that he's this rich, spoiled brat, right? His first impression of Noah is that she is just annoying, right? And has a completely wrong idea of him and his life. So it's not working very well between the two of them. And then also he has a dog, and I forgot to print a picture of the dog, which I'm very sorry for. But the dog's name is Toa, and we like the dog. The dog is very lovely, and we like dogs, right? So Noah is scared of dogs. And it's quite a big dog. I can't tell you the breed because I'm not that good with dog breeds, but it looks a little bit dangerous at first. He's very lovely, a very lovely dog. And Nick is like, oh, maybe I'm gonna make him attack you. And like, that's not funny, Nick. Like, given the fact that he is just meeting his new sister, I don't know if making your dog attack her just for fun is the best start. They are set up as enemies because enemies to lovers, right? Okay. So obviously the dog does not attack her because it's a very gentle dog, even though his name is Tor. maybe because his name is Saul. Anyway, so as I said, their encounter doesn't go very well, even though he calls her little sister. And Noah just takes off, because this is how you resolve conflict. You just leave. Again, she's a teenager, right? So it's fine. Will and Rafaela decided that it would be great for the family to have a little family dinner in the country club, or like the marina. I'm not quite sure what the actual term is. But, you know, the rich people club, right? And they can have a dinner there to get to know each other, I guess, and also to show themselves to the other rich people in town. Noah is like, I'm gonna show them how rebellious I am, because she doesn't wear anything pretty, even though her mother bought a whole boutique and left it in her closet. No, she's wearing her old Ramones t-shirt as a rebellious act, and nothing else. Like, she's wearing this t-shirt as a dress, right? Will reacts very well, I think, because Mom is already annoyed. She's like, oh my god, she's embarrassing me in front of my new husband. I was like, I don't really like Rafaela. I get her, but I don't like her. And Will's like, you look beautiful, Noah. You look perfect. Let's go. So they're going by car. Nick drives his own car because he has somewhere to be later on. So they're driving next to each other. And Nick, like, he's a bad boy. How do we know that? Because while he's driving, I'm losing my script. While he's driving, he's smoking a cigarette. And then he just flips it out of the window. It's like, littering, Nick, not cool. Not cool. But this is what bad boys do. They litter, I guess. Okay, is that even the word, littering? I think, right? Okay, so they're having their little family dinner, but Nick has to leave early because he has work to do, right? And Will and Rafaela totally buy into that because they think that Nick is a perfect boy. He's the golden boy of the Lester family. He works hard, he always works late, and he doesn't smoke. Right, which Noah obviously knows is a lie. So she's like, what else is a lie about this boy? Right? And she also wants to leave because she doesn't want to hang out with her mother and her new husband. Like, this is too much lovebirds for Noah, who is separated from her own boyfriend. So she's like, no, I want to leave too. If he can leave, I want to leave. Which means that Nick has to take her home. And that doesn't work well with Nick because he has somewhere to be, right? So they're in the car and arguing, of course, right? I guess because it's romance, you can say that they're bantering or bickering, but they're not really flirty, they're just mean to each other, right? Because then Noah insults Nick's mother, and that she should not have done, because Nick's mother is his Achilles heel, right? We don't know much about that yet, but we are about to find out a lot about this woman in the next film, and probably in the third film. Yeah, anyway. So, she makes a rude comment about his mother. He doesn't take that well and throws her out of the car in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, in just a t-shirt and with no battery on her phone, right? And I'm like, boyfriend material. What an idiot. Like, I mean, can he redeem himself after that? I don't know. Anyway, so he just takes off. He literally leaves her. And she's like, what? What the heck? Since she has no battery phone, she can't call anyone to pick her up. She doesn't know anyone. And then she thinks it's a great idea to try hitchhiking. And I'm like, girl, like, she has an iPhone. So it's like, you know about stranger danger, don't you? Like, oh my god. But anyway, I mean, also, like, what choice does she have? She probably also doesn't know the way, right? So, it was very mean of Nick to leave her in that nowhere, right? Not cool, Nick. We will not forget that. Okay, so, luckily, a car comes by and just stops to take Noah in. And the guy who's driving the car is also a young guy, like early 20s something. We later learn his name's Mario. I also forgot to get him a picture, but doesn't matter. He's not important. He's not important. So, Mario. And he assures Noah that he's not a serial killer, which probably a serial killer would say. Anyway, so she gets in his car, and he promises her to take her to the Leicester mansion. But then she's like, yeah, well, as, like, when he learns that she is part of the Leicester family now, he's like, so you know Nick, right? She's like, yeah, why? Because, I know where he is, and it's not working. No, who would have thought? Or golden boy Nick, who smokes in secret and throws his burning cigarette out of the window in the summer, even though there are lots of, like, forest fires going around. He's partying. Who would have thought? He is partying. So Mario takes Noah to that party. And there she sees him, like, making out with lots of girls. Like, everyone seems to be in love with Nick for some reason. Again, like, he's the main lead of this film, so this is why. Because, like, he doesn't really act like someone you would fall for. But then, again, she's a teenager. I guess she would fall for teenagers and hormones, right? So, I get that. So, he's making out with every girl, drinking, like, liquor from their bodies, and it's super cringy to watch, to be honest. It's very cringy, and I can't imagine how cringy it must have been to shoot these scenes. Anyway, so she's like, he left me in the middle of nowhere for this, and then she punches him in the face, which obviously he isn't too happy about, but his comeback is to start flirting with her, and we're like, I mean, this is a romance film, so this is tension, but it's like, what is he doing? So, he's flirting with his new little sister before she just pushes him away, and it's like, okay, Noah, I will probably confuse their names, and I'm sorry, but also the fact that they both start with an N, I don't know. Okay, so Noah takes off, leaves Nick standing there with his hurt nose, but he deserved it. He had it coming, right? So, I mean, violence is not the solution, Noah, but good for you, right? Good for you. So, at the party, she makes a new friend, right? A friend who is quite fine in the first film, but is one of the most annoying characters in the sequel. And I'm sorry for that. So, her name is Yenna. Right? Yenna is a friend of Nick's. They grew up together, whatever that means. But, yeah. So, Yenna tells Noah what it's all about. Because this party is not just a party. No, 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 no. This is a gang meeting. And we're like, what? Because I think there are like 4 gangs in that area. What they do, we don't know. But they wear bandanas. Kind of. Like around their arms or on their purses or whatever. In different colors. To signify what gang they belong to. And obviously, Nick here is the leader of the gang of the red bandana. Right? Again, I don't know what they're doing, and I also don't know if these 4 gangs are kind of enemy gangs. Why do they party together? I don't get it. But the real reason they're partying is because one of the gang leaders, like from the other gang, I don't know what color his gang is, green or something, I don't know. Because he just got out of jail. And that's a reason to party, isn't it? So they're all partying because of this guy, Ronnie. He has like a tattoo on the back of his neck, which is like the head of a billy goat. And we always see this tattoo to remind us that he's the devil, right? He's evil. So we put Ronnie here for the moment. He's super annoying. Like, he's super annoying. He also makes someone spike a drink and offer it to Noah. And she drinks it. Which then Nick has to just rush in and tell her that she shouldn't drink this because it's spiked. Right? But it's already too late. And Noah is drugged. Date night. Just another Tuesday, I guess. But okay. Okay. Who else do we meet at the party before we go to see what they're up to next? So we also meet one of the girls Nick is drinking that liquor from, Anna. Like, she did get a picture because she's also in the sequel. Like, her character's not really important, I'm afraid, but so she gets a picture too. Like, let's put her here. Also, she's the mean girl in this film for no reason at all. Like, I feel like the backstory is that she also has a crush on Nick, and because Nick doesn't pay any attention to her anymore now that Noah's in the picture, she's jealous of Noah, and this is why she's mean to Noah. But yeah, doesn't really matter, right? She'll just come back for one more pivotal scene, and this is why she gets a picture, okay? And we also meet someone, like, again, first film, he's perfectly fine. Sequel, I'm like, ugh. They did him dirty. Like, it's not his fault. Leon, right? Leon, who is Nick's best friend and Yenna's boyfriend. Right? Do we learn the backstory now? No. No, comes later. Okay, so Leon, obviously also part of the gang, right? Every cool kid is in the gang. So, Noah drugged by Ronnie, who just got out of jail for some reason, right? I don't know what he was in jail in for, but the implications is that it had something to do with drugs, right? And something else. But, okay. Because, yeah, anyway. So, we'll get to that later. So, Noah's drugged. Nick has to take her home. And this is where they have their first tender moment. Because he has to carry her up the staircase. Because she can't walk anymore. Like, again, she's drugged. She's almost, like, unconscious. And then she starts just brabbling, yeah? And she lets him know, which is very romantic, that glass, like the glasses you drink out of, glass is not solid, but actually a liquid. which I didn't know, and I had to ask whether that was true or if that was just made up for the movie. And yes, it's true. So that's lovely. So she's like, oh, isn't that beautiful? Glass is liquid, and this is why it's so fragile, right? And he's like, that's kind of deep, isn't it? So he's charmed by this, and he puts her into bed, you know, covers her with a blanket, which is very lovely. And then he puts her hair back behind her ears, and this is when he sees that she has a little tattoo behind her ear, and the tattoo is a knot. Right? He's like, what's that for? We don't yet know, right? It's coming back, don't worry. Okay, so then she falls asleep, right? The next day, they get down for breakfast, and we learn that Nick covered for Noah for the night before and basically gave her an alibi so that Rafaela and Will won't ask any questions where she's been the night before or what she was doing. So her alibi is that she was watching a film with her new best friend, Jenna, right? Which is, you know, kind of nice, and they do become friends. So he kind of really introduced her to her new best friend. Again, yeah, like in the first film, she's very nice, right? Will's like, oh, Jenna's family is rich. She's a good girl. Rafaela's like, what does that mean? And she's like, oh well, he's also like she's also very nice. Like honestly, in the sequel, her only personality trait is that she's a rich bitch. That's it. And you're like, ugh. But in the first film, we love her, right? We really like the first film. Like I do, and I hope you do. Okay, so then Noah is going for a little her time at the beach, right? What does she do? She reads again, because she's not like the other girls. She reads in the sun on the beach. What does she read? Romeo and Juliet. And it's like, I don't want to criticize her choices. Like, did I read the classics as a teenager feeling very sophisticated? Yes. So this is her. It's fine, right? But why is she reading Romeo and Juliet? Of course, because it's about star-crossed lovers that are torn apart by their families. So the meta level, beautiful, right? So Nick and his friends also come to the beach, and he's immediately swarmed by lots of girls, which might have to do with the fact that he's getting naked on the beach. And you're like, what? What is happening in this film? Okay, so he's getting naked to take on his swimsuit because he's a surfer. That I feel never comes back, but he likes to surf, right? Windsurf. So Noah enjoys a little sneak peek at his naked ass, and yeah, I was like, oh, he's kind of attractive, isn't he? And I was like, no, of course not. But since there are all these girls swarming Nick, she also overhears them ask him whether they can come to his race this night. And she's like, what race? Because Nick is like, oh my god, you shouldn't have said that, and runs into the waves, right? So Noah knows that something's up, and Nick doesn't let her in on the information. What is this race, you ask? Again, it's a gang meeting, because these gangs, like what they do, except for partying, is they race their cars illegally for fun. That's what they do. I was like, okay. This film is kind of like if After Passion had a Fast and Furious plot line in it, And I like that. Anyway, so it works. It works, right? So, Yenna invites Noah to the race, which is nice of her. So Noah is included. Noah gets one of those red bandanas to signify that she's part of the red gang. And she's partying with Yenna. And while she's dancing, she receives an anonymous message on her phone, which is a picture of her boyfriend, Dan, kissing her best friend. And we're like, Dan? But she's immediately like, my best friend, whose name I forgot. And then she says a mean word. So, I'm like, Noah, hello, blame your boyfriend, not your best friend. Like, you can also be angry with your best friend, but not just with her, right? So, Dan is making out with that girl. Obviously, Noah is not happy about this. She tells Yenna, and Yenna's genius plan, like, Yenna and Leon, like, their genius, unparalleled. Her plan is like, you should get drunk, take off your shirt, and make out with a guy. Yeah, so this is what Noah does, basically. Like, she doesn't take off her shirt, which is good, right? Good for her. But she gets drunk to come back at this idiot Don and starts making out with a random guy from the group. Like, she doesn't even know his name. We don't know his name. It doesn't matter. He won't come back. Right? So they're making out because of a photo. And again, like, she's 17. It's fun. It's impulsive, but it's fun. Right? So Nick is watching all of this from, like, afar. And he's not happy about this. We get a lot of his perspective of him looking at what Noah's doing, like looking out for Noah, being like in protective boyfriend mode, even though he's not her boyfriend yet, right? So he's having a close eye on Noah and what she's doing, and he doesn't like her making out with this random guy, which is not his business, but okay. So then there is another super cringy scene, which, again, this is a romance, so we need some forced proximity, right? So Noah and this random guy make out on the horn of Nick's car, a little bit further off the group, right? So Nick comes to talk to this guy, and it's like, you better leave now. And because Nick is the leader of the gang, this guy's like, oh my god, of course, I gotta go. Sorry, Noah, gotta go. And Noah's super annoyed. And then she tells Nick, or like, she doesn't really tell him, but Nick grabs her phone, which apparently isn't locked, because he can see the pictures that she has been sent from this anonymous number that is never revealed who that is. But someone's just being mean to her. Okay, so, and he sees the picture. And he immediately, even though he's never met Don or Noah's best friend, he immediately knows that this is Don making out with her best friend. And he understands. He's like, okay, because Noah's plan was to make out with this random guy, also take a picture of that, and send it to Don, saying like, I found something better like 5 minutes ago. So I'm over this, right? And because Nick is a good brother, he's like, I can help you with that photo situation, and then I can take you home, right? Because he doesn't want her around for the race that's about to happen. She's like, yeah, maybe. So what do? They kiss on his car. And it's very clear that it's not just for the photo, but both of them kind of enjoy it, and, you know, it's a romance, so it does work, right? It works. So they're taking the photo, and when there's, like, the lightning from the photo, they kind of wake up from their moment of passionate kissing or whatever. Oh, so cringy. Anyway, so they're like, oh yeah, we hate each other. They remember. They don't like each other. And he's like, okay, good. Now you get your photo. Wait here by the car. I'm going to tell Jenna to take you home. Right? So she waits by the car. And what does Nick do? He immediately, instead of telling Jenna to take Noah home, no. He immediately runs to Anna to make out with her in a different car. And we're like, you know, he has to deal with a lot, apparently. It's like, Nick, poor Anna, like, she doesn't deserve your treatment. Like, what are you doing, boy? Anyway, so they're basically having sex in this person's car. Like, we don't even know whose car it is, and it's super gross. But, okay, so, but because Nick is occupied, he doesn't notice that the final race is about to start. The final race of the night, like, the big deal, because Nick, obviously, is the best racer, right? He's not just the leader of the Red Gang, he's also the best racer. And whom is he supposed to race that night? Ronnie. Right? Ronnie is just, very mischievous. And he's like, I can kind of, corrupt the Red Gang by making Noah drive the car. Because Noah is sitting in his car. Like, he made her sit in his car that was waiting for the race. Like, the car was already parked for the race. Like, parked for the race. It was, like, standing at the start line for the race. I was like, this is on you, honestly. But, okay. So, Noah's in the car. And we know that Noah's interested in cars. Remember this picture of the little girl and this man in racing clothes with the car? So Noah's interested in cars. Right? So she's like touching the car, like the driving wheel. She imagines what it's like to drive the car. And then Ronnie pulls up next to her and is like, you want to race? Shall we? Let's do this. And he teases her a lot, and then the race starts without Nick, which Nick is like, how can this race start without me? How does it start? Well, it's Ronnie racing against Noah now. So all of the people from the gang gather to watch them race, and Nick tries to run to the car, but he's too late because the race has already begun. And Ronnie, who's also like a misogynist idiot, is like, well, since you're a girl, I give you 5 seconds of an early, like a head start, so that you won't feel too bad when you lose, or whatever. And she's like, okay, fine. And she uses her head start to readjust her lipstick. And Ronnie's super annoyed by that. He's like, what are you doing? Start racing your car. And she's like, yeah, sure. And then they start race the car. And because Noah knows a lot about cars and she's not like other girls, she's really good at this. Like, even this 6th curve, whatever that means, like there are lots of curves on the racing track, right? So, and one of them apparently is very dangerous or very difficult to take. She takes this very well because she's a great driver, right? Leon, super impressed. Nick, shocked. Everyone is like, what is happening? Ronnie also doesn't know what happens to him because he expected her to be a bad driver. It's like, Ronnie, don't underestimate people. First impressions, right? So, he got it wrong. Noah wins this race with flying colors. Is that the word? Yeah. So, but Ronnie is like, well, you cheated. You cheated. Because you weren't supposed to drive the car. Nick was supposed to drive the car. And she's like, yeah, but you made me drive the car. And you lost. So, the Red Gang won. It's like, no. This is not how it works. Because Nick was supposed to drive the car. He like the red gang is basically disqualified, lost the race, which means that Nick has to pay 15k to Ronnie's gang and also give him the car. And this is the rules, right? So Nick is like, yeah, what else can he do? And he does that. So he pays the money, leaves the car with Ronnie, and is super annoyed. And it's like, again, Nick, you left her in the car, right? What did you think would happen? Like, I think he knows that Noah's interested in cars, but I don't know. So, it's very dramatic about this car. Anyway, so then, because they're enemy gangs, they start a fight. Just, punching each other. Like, every member of every gang just gets at the other one. They're, like, it's a mess, right? People are, hitting each other left and right. And then we see Noah, who's basically just ducking and hiding, like covering her head in order to avoid being hit by someone. And Nick, while he's hitting someone else, notices Noah crouching in the crowd, trying to, find shelter, probably. So he's like, what's up with Noah? What's up with her? Yeah. He could have just asked someone, right? But he doesn't. Anyway, so Jenna, Leon, Noah, and Nick escape in the car, right? Jenna's driving or Leon's driving, doesn't matter. Someone of them is driving. Since Nick has lost his car, like, they have to take them home. I don't know what he tells his dad about the lost car, to be honest. Like, what does he tell them? I don't know. So maybe he just told them that he forgot where he parked it. Okay, so they sit in the car, and because they, like, Nick and Noah, they sit next to each other, and Nick is looking out of the rear view window, and he has his arm, like, on the chair, like, sitting, you get what I mean. She can see his arm, like his bicep, and on his bicep there's a tattoo. Guess what it is? It's a knot. Just like hers. They have the same tattoo. They're soulmates, basically. So she's like, he notices, and also he has a little text written next to the knot and says, "Tame your past." So we know something happened in the past, something that he isn't over yet, but okay. So, they're taking off, which is good, but we also get a picture, like a frame of Ronnie watching them drive away in the car, and that makes it clear that Ronnie will be watching Noah's every move from now on. She's on the list, right? So Ronnie, the antagonist of the movie, at least for now, right? Okay. So a few days later, Noah is at home, and then she gets a threatening text from an anonymous number, like, on her phone, and this text is basically like, "I'm watching you." Like, she receives a lot of threatening texts throughout the rest of the film. There are always messages like, "Yeah, you will pay for what you've done to me," something like that, right? And we are supposed to think that they are from Ronnie, right? Because she made him look bad for losing the car race against a girl. Because patriarchy. Toxic masculinity strikes again, right? So we're supposed to believe that they're from Ronnie. Okay. So then, like, this is a few days later again. This night there's a very special gala, right, that the whole Leicester family is supposed to attend to introduce themselves to the high society, right? So Noah has to wear a pretty dress. Rafaela can't decide which dress to wear, and Will tells her that she's beautiful either way, right? So they have a lovely moment, and he recalls how they first met. Put a pin in that, right? So, according to his story, they met because Rafaela was a tourist guide in whatever city she and Noah used to live in, and Will was on one of her tours, right? So she was showing them a specific cathedral, which isn't named, so just imagine a cathedral. Like, she's showing this group around, and Will was so mesmerized by this tourist guide who was so interested in architecture and history that he immediately fell in love with her. And now they're married. What a love story. It's nice, right? Again, remember that for the sequel. Because question marks about this, but okay. So, they have this little lovely moment. Noah kind of watches that and is like, well, I really want my mom to be happy because we know something, happened in their past. She's like, I think she deserves being happy. So she does get into a nice dress and attends this super important gala, right? To make her mom happy, right? And it's also very important because, what is it? Important people will be there, and the Lacey family is also important. Again, after watching these two movies, I'm like, what exactly is his job? I don't know. He's just being rich. He has a very important enterprise company. I don't know what they do. I don't know. But he's important, he has money, and he knows important people. That's all we need to know, right? Okay, so she's wearing this lovely dress for the gala, showing up, doing her part, mostly. But who isn't? Nick. He does not attend the party. What is he doing instead? He's getting drunk on the beach. Because he hasn't been home in a few days. I don't know where he's been, but apparently he has a second home somewhere. So, or he's been sleeping on the beach all the time. I don't know. So, he's been drinking on the beach, but also he's been meeting someone else. Someone we haven't met before. Now, he's spending time with a little girl. And this girl is Maggie, right? She's a cutie. She's very sweet. And we learn that this is his little sister. We have to move, Ronnie. Sorry. So, we have to move him. Right. Is she still in the frame? Yeah. Okay, so, we have Maggie, right? His little sister. And we also see that she has diabetes, so she wears one of those pins on her arms so that she has diabetes, right? This will come back later. And Nick tells her oh, I have to go. There's this gala that I have to go to. She's like, no, please stay with me. I want to spend more time with you. And because he loves his little sister. He loves both his little sisters, but one of them like a sister. So, because he loves his little sister, and he is a good brother to her, he's like, okay, I'm staying with you. But that means he misses the gala, right? So, minus points with the family. Right? When Will and Rafaela and Noah come back from the gala, Noah goes to the television and then she sees his Instagram profile or something, and there he posted a picture of himself with little Maggie. So she's like, well, he had a reason not to come to the gala. And then she just sits on the couch and watches a film. Cuddling with Tor, the dog. We love Tor, right? So they're having a little quality time and watching a film, right? Then Nick sneaks in back home and catches them on the couch. So he pushes the dog away, which is mean. You can sit next to the dog, but okay. So he's sitting on the couch with Noah, right? And they're watching this film, and she's like, oh, the parents really missed you on this gala, right? It wasn't cool not to be there. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna apologize to them later. No, so he knows that was cool, right? Again, like, what kind of gala was this anyway? But I mean, they could have asked Maggie to come too, right? But they didn't. So happy family, just the four of them now, right? Poor Maggie. Okay, so, and while they're like having this little heart to heart on the couch, just like they're watching the scene play on the screen from that film, and I don't know what film it is. I assume it's some kind of Fast and Furious. Like, it either is Fast and Furious, which would be hilarious, or it's something like Fast and Furious. But on the screen, there are two cars racing, and then they kind of circle each other, and while they're circling each other, like drifting, one of the drivers pulls down his window and shoots the other driver while they're drifting. And Nick is like, that's not possible in real life, because he thinks he knows about cars. But Noah's like, no, it is. You can do that. And she tells him how to do this. And this is why we know this will come back later. Right? This is important. Right? So they both bond over this car moment on the television, which is sweet. And then they start making out on the couch. Oh my god. Again, this is kind of cringy. But okay. And then, oh, Nick. To be honest, this reminds me too much of Anthony Bridgerton from season 2 of Bridgerton. Because then he pulls back, like he stops their kiss in the middle of kiss. It's like, no, this isn't right. You're my new sister. And it's like, you don't have to mention that all the time, do you? But okay. It's like, you're my little sister. Also, like, she's not. But you're my little sister. And you're 17. And I was waiting for him to say that he's a gentleman, but he doesn't. Thank God. So he's like, it's not right. I can't do this. Because we know that he's 21. So, a little age gap here. Like, 21, 17. What's her comeback? Then kiss me until I'm 18. Yeah. Okay. So, then they have to interrupt their little makeout session because Rafaela comes into the living room. She doesn't see them kissing, but she's like, Nick, you're back. Your dad is waiting for you because he's very disappointed in you. So he's like, yeah, gotta go and apologize. Okay. And then Rafaela's like, Noah, what was wrong with you? You have hardly said anything at the gala. And like, she probably didn't know anyone. This is awkward. She is like the, like, not trophy daughter, but like token daughter, like to, like, complete their perfect family image for other people. Like, this is super cringy for her. Right? Okay. So, Rafaela also thinks that there's something else going on with Noah, and maybe she was a bit too harsh to her for uprooting her, just making her move across the country, and like pulling her away from all her friends. So, she thinks, I'm gonna surprise my daughter with something. You know, parents surprising their children with things they think these children want. Doesn't go well most of the time. Okay, so the next day, Noah is washing her car, right? In, like, the front yard, right? So, in front of the house. She's washing the car wearing like a little dress and maybe a bikini underneath. I don't know. So she's washing the car. Nick comes out to watch her do this. And then she's like being very sexy, very seductive, because she like pulls puts all the water over her own clothes and is like, you're allowed to watch. And it's like, oh my god, girl. But okay, Nick likes that. So he is like watching her having her one person wet t-shirt contest, right? When a car pulls up in the driveway, it's Rafaela. And she isn't alone, because she thought she would make Noah happy by bringing Don into the picture. This is Don. We don't like him. So we'll put him here, but we don't need him. Okay, so Don. I don't know what he was thinking after making out with her best friend to come to this mansion and be like, oh, hello, here you are, lovely. Noah's not having any of this, so she doesn't want to talk to Don. Rafaela doesn't understand because Rafaela doesn't know that Don cheated on Noah. Otherwise she hopefully wouldn't have invited him to the house. But okay. But Noah is also worried about Don, because she's like, oh my god, Nick, we sent Don the picture of us kissing. What if he recognizes you? And I'm like, how would he? Like, this picture they took of them kissing on the car, like, was in the dark. Like, I don't know if it wasn't blurry at all, even. Anyway, so she's like, he probably recognizes you because maybe his prominent nose is in the picture or something. I don't know. Okay, so she's like, he cannot recognize you. He must never tell the parents. Right? So this is their priority, right? Okay. And then they go to the garden, and for whatever reason, the family is having like a little pool party. So Jenna is here, Leon is here, other people are here, like everyone from Nick's gang is there, kind of, and they're having their little pool party. So Don is following Noah around and tries to talk to her, and it's like, oh, I want to apologize, you know, I missed you so much, this is why I kissed your best friend, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense, but okay. I guess he's a teenager too, so that's not an excuse, but maybe an explanation, right? So, but Noah is done with Don. Like, she's no longer interested in him because now she has Nick, right? And she's way more interested in Nick. And she's like, oh, no, Don, well, just leave me alone. And while Don is trying to talk to Noah, well, he's actually talking at Noah a lot, Nick is always interrupting and always like teasing. He's always like, oh, hello, and what are you doing? And he's like playing with the fire in the sense that he's getting so close to Don that he's about to be detected, but he's also teasing Noah with that because Don doesn't recognize him right away. So he finds that very funny. Noah does not. And I mean, given the fact that she is younger than Nick and she has to live with their parents for a bit longer and he doesn't, we get that, right? So then, like, Nick pulls Noah into the pool and Leon and Jenna distract Don by talking to him about something. It's like, wouldn't they not like Don? Like, why are they nice to him? But of course, they know they need to cover for these two lovebirds who are making out in the pool. And again, it's kind of cringy, but it's a romance, so it's fine. So they're making out in the pool, hiding behind these like air balloon pool things. Like, I don't know what to call them, but you know, these things here, the like air doesn't matter. So there's lots of stuff in the pool, so Dan doesn't see them right away. He's like, who's that guy that Noah's with? And Leon's like, well, that's her neighbor, Cayetano. And it's like, why did you say a name, Leon? Why? Because then Rafaela calls for Nick, because Will is apparently waiting for him. I don't know. She's like, Nick, and then he has to get out of the pool. So he's like, Nick? I thought his name was Cayetano. Dan connects the dots, and he's like, isn't that the guy from the photo? I don't know how you recognize him, but okay. Maybe he looked at this photo very, very closely, which is questionable, but okay. Okay. So Noah's like, yeah, but please don't tell the parents. Do this for me. You owe me for kissing my best friend. Right? And Don's like, yeah, he sees that. Okay. Good. So then we get a little cut. And also, like, let's come back to the fact that Noah is so worried that her parents might find out about her and Nick, because they're siblings now. And it's like, they're not. You know, nobody actually thinks they're siblings. Like, their parents are married now, okay. But like, he's 21, she's 17. They're basically adults. They can do whatever they want, right? So, I don't really understand the problem. But again, I grew up reading Cassandra Clare books, so maybe I shouldn't judge this. Okay, so we get a little cut, right? A cut to Nick being at the country club or wherever, so he's in town, right? But as he's walking to wherever he's going, a car pulls up next to him, and it's his car. We remember the red car because he's the leader of the red gang, right? And who is driving this red car? Ronnie, right? And Ronnie is like, we got a message for your sister, right? Because Ronnie, a few seconds earlier, was with someone, like a dark silhouette person, which is like very mysterious. We're like, who is this other person? And since Noah is receiving even more threats, this time in the shape of flowers, and I didn't look up what these flowers mean, but maybe the flowers are a message. I didn't look that up. I don't know anything about flowers, so apologies for that. But she received like a bouquet of flowers, and that had a little message in it as well, and it was like, I'm coming closer, something, you know, something threatening again, but also super mysterious, right? And then, right after this scene, we cut to this mysterious man who's talking to Ronnie, and what does he say? I don't know. Anyway, so I just wrote cut to Ronnie and mysterious man. Okay, so this mysterious man apparently is leading Ronnie to do something, or telling him to do something. And the next scene is him driving up to Nick and saying that they have a little message for his sister. What is the message? They beat him up. And you're like, given the rest of what is to come, I'm like, why didn't he beat back? Like, fight back? Like, why does he look so beaten up? I don't know. So, they beat him up. Like, I guess it's because they were multiple guys beating up poor Nick, who was fighting on his own, right? So he comes back home, bruised, bloodied, like his nose is bleeding, like, again, bruised. And when he comes back, he watches Don, who is sleeping in the room next to Noah's, sneak out of his room with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses and sneak into Noah's room. And he's like, they're making up. Right? So he's not happy. And then he goes to the garden, you know, instead of, like, I don't know, going to the hospital to have someone check whether he has, like, internal bleeding or anything. Like, anyway, so he goes to the garden to look at the sea, because I guess that's nice, right, calming. And while he's standing there, he turns around and he sees someone who's sleeping on the lounge chairs. Noah. So Don cannot be with Noah because Noah's not in her room. Poor Don. Not poor him. We're not sorry for you. But Noah's sleeping. Nick watching Noah sleep, which we know since Twilight is very romantic. Isn't it? Very intense. So he watches her sleep, sits next to her on the lounge chair, and sees that, like, because she's sleeping there, her t-shirt, like, slipped up a little bit so you can see part of her belly. And on her belly you can see a very long scar. And he's like, what's up with this scar? But he wants to cover the scar with her t-shirt and does that. But this wakes Noah up. So she wakes up and her first impulse is to punch him in the face. Which, again, I mean, given her trauma, I guess, that makes sense. But also, is that your first impulse, to punch someone in the face? Okay, so she punches him in the face. He's like, oh my god. But since she's done that before and this has kind of started their romance, this is kind of romantic, isn't it? So he's like, oh my god. And since his nose is already bleeding from being beaten up by Ronnie and his friends, she's like, oh my god, was I that? Is that because of me? And he's like, no. She's like, what happened to you? Because he's super bruised. Like, his chest is bruised, right? She's like, oh my god, you've been fighting again, haven't you? Because she knows that, like, his reputation from earlier, before he became the golden boy that his dad thinks he is, his reputation was that he would get into fights and he would drink a lot of alcohol and smoke cigarettes and be a bad boy all in all. But she's like, so you did this again, right? He's like, no, I want to stop all the fighting. I want to be better. I want to do better. And I was like, She doesn't really believe him, but then they change, like, they swap on the lounge chair, so he's sitting, like, leaning back while she is tending to his wounds a little bit. Again, a little cringy to talk about this, but okay. So he tells her that it was Ronnie and his gang who beat him up, and he doesn't want her to go anywhere alone now because he's worried that Ronnie might try to hurt her too, right? Okay, so while they're having this moment, they're also, like, kissing, and then Noah says, like, why do good girls, like, I'm not sure if she says, like, why do good girls, but, like, the idea is, like, why do good girls always fall in love with the bad boys? And she's like, you're so brutal and arrogant. And he doesn't really like hearing that, because he's like, you talking about me or what? So she's like, oh, you're brutal and you hurt people for fun. And he's like, no, I would never do this to you. This is key, right? I would never hurt you. She's like, oh, well. And then who walks up on them? Dan, right? So he catches them kissing on the lounge chair and like secrets out, right? So Dan now really knows. And Nick leaves Noah and him to talk. And Noah's like, well, Dan, I forgive you for making out with my best friend, but please keep what you've just seen for yourself, to yourself, right? So Dan's like, yeah. And the next day, he leaves, and he never comes back. And it's like, fine. So, sorry, Dan, but not sorry. Like, we won't miss him, right? He's off to live with his best life with the best friend, maybe. If she takes it back. I wouldn't do that, but okay. So, then, the next day, Noah receives another threat message. And she's like, oh my god. But I don't know what is going on in her mind, but she doesn't tell anyone about this. Apparently, Jenna kind of knows that she's getting these weird messages on her phone, but she thinks it's a joke. Or it's Ronnie making fun about her, like messing with her head or something. So she doesn't take this seriously. Noah doesn't talk to anyone. So it's like, So, they're in the kitchen and Noah, like, I think she's trying on her new school uniform or something. And it's very clear, like, the housekeeping staff, like, they have eyes. They know what to look out for. Like, these two are just blind or turning a blind eye to the situation. We don't know. They're just ignoring what's going on underneath their roof. But the housekeeping staff really knows that something is happening between these two. And their team, Noah and Nick. Like, their team N. So, they're supporting them and helping them sneak around, which is lovely. You know? It's nice. But okay. So, then Nick takes Noah and Anna and Mario, who didn't get a picture, to another gang event. Another nice little get-together. Right? We don't know where they're going. Noah doesn't know, for sure. So, they're all in the car, and we get that Anna is kind of annoyed because Noah has kind of taken her place now. She's allowed to sit next to Nick. Like, Nick pays a lot of attention to Noah and not anymore to Anna. So Anna feels left out. Right? Because a girl has no other personality than to be interested in a boy. She is jealous. Right? Okay, so they arrive at this venue, and while Anna and Mario are already, like, going in, Nick and Noah stay behind, and again they make out. Anyway, so then they go into, and turns out, what is this little gang get-together? What are they doing? It's a fight club. And you're like, he was just beaten up by someone. Why would he join the fight club now? But okay, so Noah's like, what is happening here? He's like, yeah, it's just a little fight, you know. It's just fun. It helps me to let go of my stress, of his very stressful life. He just enjoys fighting. And she's like, what? You enjoy hurting people? He's like, wow, whatever. Like, he doesn't see the point, right? He doesn't see the problem. But Noah is disgusted. She's like, how can you enjoy hurting people? No. I don't want to see any of this. And she leaves. Right? Nick starts hitting this guy, and obviously he's winning because he's the best fighter, which didn't help him much when he was beaten up by Ronnie and his gang, but Anyway, so he runs off to Noah and is like, what's your problem? What's your problem? And he grabs her arm kind of forcefully and is like, what's your problem, girl? And she's like, I don't want to be with someone who's violent. Like, I don't need this in my life again. He's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, no, I'm scared. I don't want to be with you anymore. He's like, what are you scared of? I'm scared of you. And he lets go of her arm and is shocked. Like, how can Noah be scared of him? Like, he just beat someone up. Why would anybody be scared of that? Okay. So, we know Noah doesn't handle violence well. Understandable, right? So, Jenna, Leon, and Noah, and Mario, who didn't get a picture, they take off, leave Nick behind, and Nick starts to think over his life a little bit. He starts questioning his life choices. He's like, well, what is this? What is this? Also, I did forget that a little earlier, but while they were in the car driving up to the fight club, Anna lets us in on Nick's backstory. So we learn that Nick's mother, remember her for the next video, like his mother left him when he was a little child. So he grew up without his mom, and he's scared of abandonment. That's basically his issue. But also, he got into the whole fighting and racing thing because he wanted to rebel against his dad. For some reason, right? But also, like, he got into this because he wanted to rebel against his dad. But also, he flew to Mexico. Again, I think this is set in Spain. So, he flew to Mexico in the sense of he ran away to Mexico. And there his dad cut him off from the money. So, he was stranded in Mexico with no money and no idea how to make any. And this is where he met Leon in Mexico. Remember that. So, Leon in Mexico. And Leon took Nick in and taught him how to survive in the streets. And we're like, sure. And as gratitude or whatever, Nick took Leon back to Spain and introduced him to Jenna, who's now his girlfriend. And it's like, oh, this is super weird, but okay. So the whole Mexico plotline is important for the sequel, right? It's cliche, and also it doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, okay, so we know Nick, abandonment issues, mommy issues, right? This is why he's not capable of, like, nursing a relationship, having a relationship, being, loving and kind with a partner. Like, he's very loving and kind with his sister. With her too. But, okay, so we're in on that, right? Still, we don't yet know what it is with Noah and the violence yet, right? So, Nick, who is questioning his life, is spending time apart from Noah. Like, we see them do a lot of stuff on their own now. Like, it's kind of a little montage situation here, where we see Nick, jogging at the beach with Tor, like Noah doing something, Noah starting a job, waiting tables in the country club, because apparently there's no other restaurant in town. It's like, why do you have to work in the country club, girl? She's serving meals to her new daddy and mom, and also to Nick, who's dating Anna in that scene or something. And it's like, just work in a different restaurant. But no, she's working in the country club. maybe that's because she thinks that the tip is better there, because all the rich people go there and eat there. So let's hope they tip well, but probably not. Okay, anyway, so Nick is also celebrating his 22nd birthday, right? Keep that in mind for the timeline. Like, in this film, it's his birthday, 22nd, right? In the summer. So it's his birthday. He's celebrating, like, they're spending time apart. They're not talking to each other, right? They're avoiding each other. They're, like, things are weird between them, you know, now that they made out and discovered that it's not working. So things are very tense, right? We also see Noah in front of the mirror inspecting her scar, you know, really looking at it, and we get this, whatever happened in the past has something to do with the scar, right? Okay. Then she gets another threat, because we have to be clued in on the fact that someone is threatening Noah, right? Conveniently for us as the viewer, Will thinks this is the perfect timing to tell Nick about Noah's backstory, right? So we learn through Will that Noah's dad was abusive, and he used to be violent against Rafaela and also against Noah. And he also tried to hurt Noah, like tried to kill her basically, by stabbing her in the belly. So the scar that we know is from her dad trying to kill her, which is pretty traumatic, right? And you would think that receiving all these threats would make her worry a little bit. But it's just, I guess it's like a trauma response that she's just trying to shut the door and she's trying to ignore this or something. I don't know. So we learn that, again, like this man was violent against them. But he's in jail, right? So he's in jail because of Noah's testimony in court. This is why he's very angry with Noah. And the sad thing is that he's about to be released from jail. Just now, or he has just been released from jail. And now Rafaela is worried that he might try to contact Noah to get back at her. We as the viewer go like, Ronnie and this mysterious figure, the threats. Who could this secret antagonist be? Nick doesn't really get there yet, but okay. So Noah is going to a party with Jenna. And the party is either at Anna's house or like Anna's just there. And they're getting drunk because Noah's like, oh yeah, Nick is such an idiot. And Jenna is also like, yeah, Leon is also such an idiot. I don't know what their problem in this film is, but like Jenna is also in on the drama, right? So she's like, yeah, boys are idiots. Right, so they're getting drunk, and while they're about to walk to Noah's car to leave the party, we see someone on the other side of the sidewalk watching her. This someone is smoking a cigarette, because this is what the bad guys do. And he's also wearing like a wedding band on his finger, so we're like, who is this person? The final face for our character wall. Jonas. Jonas is Noah's dad, right? So I'll put him here with Ronnie, but technically he belongs here, right? But yeah, we'll put him here for this video, right? With Ronnie. Okay, so he is watching Noah. And as she's getting out of the house to go back home, he gets out of the car. And we're like, oh my god, is he going to try to hurt Noah or anything? Like, things are heating up. And it turns out that Nick also came to the party to look after Noah, because now that Daddy told him that his, like, this, not Daddy Dearest, but Baddie Daddy is on the loose, he's worried about Noah too. And maybe he remembers Ronnie beating him up, being like, oh, we have a little message for your sister or something. I don't know. So he's like, he wants to protect Noah, because protective boyfriend mode activated. Right. Jonas sees Nick, goes back into his car. It's like, not trying to make a move on Noah today. Right. Okay, so Noah forgot her jacket at the party and has to go back to get it. And Anna, because she's a mean girl, Anna locks her in the closet for fun. I'm sorry. Locks her in the closet for fun. She thinks it's funny. But that triggers Noah's trauma, because when she was a little child and her father was abusive against Rafaela, she would hide in her closet, or Rafaela would shove her in the closet and lock the closet so that Jonas couldn't get to Noah, right? So she's in the closet, trauma responding, and she's crying. It's a very traumatic experience. Anna thinks it's funny. Nick, who now knows what's going on, immediately knows that Noah is in distress, and he needs to get her out of this. So he takes her out of the closet and takes her home, right? So, and he's protective, right? He's like, nothing will hurt you now. Okay, so he takes her home, puts her into bed, and it's like, yeah, he clues her in on knowing what happened in her past, right? So, he knows that she's terribly scared of this man, but he wants to protect her, and he's like, yeah, you're safe with me, Okay, so they're in the house, like in Noah's bedroom, and Noah, she was at this party wearing a party dress and stuff, so she just took it off, also because she was drunk, but apparently she wasn't wearing much underneath, so she just, like that, goes into bed, pulls the cover, the blanket over, and asks Nick to stay with her. Because she's scared, right? She had this terrible memory, and Nick, being a good son and a good brother, because Will asked Nick to look out for Noah, so he kind of was asking for it. He was provoking it, right? So, this is not what he was thinking, but okay. So Nick gets into bed with Noah just to hold her and be like, yeah, I'm here. You don't need to be scared. Right? It is kind of lovely, right? Okay. So this is how they fall asleep, and this is also how they wake up, right? In bed together. And Nick is like, oh, I should leave, just in case anyone else wakes up in the house. They shall not see me sneak out of your room and stuff. She's like, yeah, And I guess him saving Noah from the party kind of means that they made up, and they're starting to kiss in bed and, talking about what else they could be doing. And just as they're kissing, Will storms into Noah's bedroom without knocking, I think. And it's like, oh, Noah, have you seen Nick? I can't reach him. He doesn't answer his phone. And what does Will find in Noah's bedroom? Nick. So, yeah. He's shocked. He's like, oh my god, what is going on underneath my roof? But they have more important stuff to do, because he was trying to reach Nick because of an emergency. Something happened to Maggie, and they have to go to the hospital to see her. like, nothing dramatic happened, but remember that she has diabetes, so her blood sugar was dangerously low, and she almost had like what I don't know how to call this, like a diabetic fit or something. But now she's in the hospital, and she's getting better, right? So, but because she has to be hospitalized, like things were serious. Right? So Nick and Noah rush to see Maggie in the hospital, and Maggie's like, "Oh, it's so lovely that you came here," right? And because Nick is such a worried brother, like it's kind of lovely. Noah changes her mind about Nick being so brutal and terrible because she sees how much he cares about his little sister. And when he talks to the nurse, I'm just saying this for the sequel, when he talks to the nurse is like, yeah, she can go home in a few days, she just needs to rest a little bit, and then she can be with her mother again. He's like making a comment about their mother, so that we know that their mother is not really a good mother, right? And he is not happy about the way his mother treats Maggie, because she basically neglects her, right? And this triggers him because she left him, right? Okay, I don't really understand why he would never meet his mother when he spends so much time with Maggie, but that's a loophole for another video. Okay, so Nick and Noah are back in the car, going back home, and they know things are over between them, because now that Will saw them making out in her bed, the parents know that something happened between them, and they won't tolerate this, right? They won't have any of this. So they're like, yeah, well, things are over because before they actually begun, essentially. And because they're teenagers, like Nick isn't, but he's still very young, right? They're like, oh my god, life is over. Life is over. Nick pulls the car over, and he's just, I don't know, he's very much in his feelings. So he kisses Noah, apologizes to her for like scaring her. It's like, I would never hurt you. I promise, like, I will stop with the racing, the fighting. I want to be a good guy for you. And I was like, yeah, but it's too late. The parents know. We can never be together. Like, it can never happen. And then, I swear, they give this guy so cheesy lines in the films. Like, I feel like the first film is okay, but the sequel is just him being corny. It's terrible. Because, like, the whole film series, a book series, is called the Culpables series, because Culpables, like they're like, what's the word? It's like the whole fault thing, my fault, your fault, right? So culpa mia, culpa tuya, right? So he's like, well, if this is like, if our love is a sin, then we are guilty of that, right? And the Spanish word is culpable, right? So we're guilty of that. Oh my god, it's so cheesy, but it works on Noah, right? It works on her. So they are confessing their love for each other, and then they think it's a great idea to go to the beach together. And then something happens that is only ever romantic in movies, because the reality looks so much different. I guess. So they're having sex on the beach, and it's not the cocktail. I can't even speak anymore. And it's like, they're having their little quality time on the beach, and I'm like, grossed out by watching this. Like, just like shooting this must have been terrible for the actors, but also like in universe, like that's a bad idea. Like, have they never watched Star Wars? If there's one thing that Anakin Skywalker taught us, it's that sand gets everywhere. Don't do that. Okay, but well, they're doing it, and like it's a very long scene. We won't talk about that. That's too cringe, right? So the next day, like at dawn, they're still on the beach, and they spent the whole night there. It's like, isn't that super cold? But I guess their love keeps them warm or anything. I don't know. So the next day, like dawn is rising, the sun's rising, and they need to go home, right? But they're like, I don't want to go home yet, so we could still spend some time together. It's like, yeah, but we need to stop by a shop because they're out of condoms. So they go to a gas station to buy new condoms. And while Nick is paying, Noah is abducted. She's kidnapped by Ronnie and his gang. And I'm like, didn't see that coming. So this film turns into a thriller now. It's wild. Okay. So she gets kidnapped, right? Nick immediately reports to the police. Will and Rafaela and him are with the police now when, like, the kidnapper calls the Leicester house. And it turns out, who is the kidnapper? Well, technically it's Ronnie, but he kidnapped Noah on behalf of Jonas. So, Daddy, not so dearest, kidnapped his own daughter, right? So when Noah wakes up in the den where they're hiding her, she firstly thinks it's Ronnie. She's like, no, Ronnie, this isn't funny. But then, out of the shadows, emerges Jonas. She's frozen. Remember, she's terrified of her father, who tried to kill her, and who now kidnapped her, and tied her to a chair. So she is, she can't fight him off, like if she needed to, right? Okay, so Jonas calls the Leicester house and tells Will and Rafaela that he wants a ransom of €1 million to let Noah go, right? Obviously, Will is going to pay for that. It's like, sure, where shall we meet? Where shall I drop the money? And they agree on a meeting, like, in the city center. So Will and Rafaela go there with the bag full of money to wait for Jonas to give the money to and get Noah back. But obviously, he's just playing with their feelings. He never intended to give Noah back to them. I don't know what he was going for, but it wasn't the money, apparently. So he's just angry, and he wants to punish Rafaela because abusive husbands usually blame their wives for everything that goes wrong in their lives, right? So he's like, well, Rafaela destroyed my life. And not just Rafaela, but also Noah, right? Okay, so Nick, who cannot just sit by and watch as his love is in danger, like, he tries to, like, be a player in the field as well. So he goes to that city center, like, point where Jonas is supposed to come, but he's not coming. And the police officer's like, oh, what are you doing here? And she gets in his car, right? So him and the police officer, who also didn't get a picture, like, they're in his car, and he's just like, well, I should have known that Ronnie was in cahoots with Jonas, and, you know, it's all my fault, and Ronnie stole my car, but this is super annoying because I still have to pay for the insurance. And this is the moment where he's like, oh, the insurance! The car that he lost to Ronnie has GPS that he can access, so he can see where the car is. And because he's like, wherever the car is also where Ronnie is, and this is where Jonas is, and where Jonas is, Noah is too, right? So he and the police officer, they start, like, this search. They search the car via GPS. They find, it's like, well, they find it, right? But Jonas has installed, like, a camera at this point where he, like, Will and Rafaela are supposed to drop off the money. So he can a camera and a microphone. So when Will tells Rafaela that the police found Jonas and Noah, he knows that the police is after them, right? And he can get away. So he beats up Ronnie for some reason, ties him up and leaves him in this hiding spot for the police to capture him, which they do, right? And then he and Noah escape in Nick's car, in the red car, right? So Noah is the one driving. Jonas is holding her at gunpoint, being like, you better get us out of here or I'll shoot you. So Noah is forced to drive the car through the city and, like, drive away from the police. So obviously the police is following. Nick and the police officer are also following. And this is a whole, like, car racing situation. Like, very fast and furious, right? Okay, so they're driving through the whole city. Jonas gives us all his evil villain monologue, being like, yeah, I'm doing this because you and your mother destroyed my life. And his reason is that he lost the world championship. He used to be a professional car racer. Oh, I didn't mention that. I didn't mention that earlier, but somebody, I don't know who, was it Anna? I don't know. I think Anna stalked Noah on Instagram and found out that her dad was a professional car racer, and this is why she was so good with cars, right? Okay, so anyway, back to business. So he was like, yeah, he lost the world championship because Rafaela and Noah left him, and this is the reason why he became abusive. I'm not quite sure about that because I think the narrative told us that he was abusive all the time. And this is why Rafaela and Noah left him. But who knows? Given the events of the sequel, maybe that wasn't the case after all. Right, so this is why he became abusive, because he lost the world championship, and he blames his wife and daughter for that. Of course, right? Sure. Noah is like very much in distress, and she also is like, why did you do this? Because I used to love you. I was very happy. And it's like, what do you mean, Noah? You were happy. I mean, your dad was always abusive towards your mother, wasn't he? Like, okay. But maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe I'm just getting things mixed up, right? Okay. So, Jonas and Noah are in the car. Jonas is lecturing Noah on how to drive away from the police, right? And the police are after them, but Noah is such a good driver, they can't reach them, right? They also, like, their race ends at the marina, and for some reason, Noah thinks it's a good idea to drive down the, I don't even know the word for it, like the way in the marina where all the boats are tied to, like, the flogs? I don't know, right? So she drives down this dead end, basically, and turns the car around, and they all know it's over. Like, facing them on the other side is Nick and the police officer in their car, so there's no way to escape, right? Around them there's just water. The only way to get out would be to drive through Nick and his car. So again, I don't know what he was thinking, what he was aiming for. Like, he could have taken the money and just gotten out of there, but no. He probably doesn't expect to leave this place alive, right? So Noah locks eyes with Nick, and through telepathy or something, they both remember their little makeout session on the couch a little earlier when they were watching this Fast and Furious film, and she told him how to spin the car drifting and how to do this, right? So he's like, gotcha. So they both drive their cars against each other, basically. And Jonas and the police officer are like, what are you doing? Stop this. Because it looks like they were just driving into each other, right? And in the last moment, they both turn their steering wheels around so that their cars are spinning, drifting around, and Nick and Noah both cover so that the police officer can shoot Jonas while they're drifting. And it's like, this police officer, very capable, right? Is this a good ending to the story? You know, I mean, someone's dead now. But since he was abusive, we're like, yeah. I mean, is that a good attitude? No. But he had it coming, right? So the police officer shot Jonas. Noah and Nick are safe, like they're alive. I mean, the ambulance is coming and caring for Noah. So the parents arrive at the whole crime scene, and well, when they arrive, they just bring, they take away the body. So Rafaela, and this is important, Rafaela turns back the cloth that covers Jonas's body just to see that he's actually dead, that he's gone for good, and then they leave, right? So this is important because you know the rule, if there's no body, people are gonna come back, right? So he can't come back in the sequence. Like, will he still haunt the family? Yes, but he's dead, right? So he won't come back. So Rafaela is obviously grateful that Nick saved her daughter, but you know, they're still not seeing eye to eye on things, you know. Will also not happy with Nick. He's like, you messed up, you know, making out with your sister, and then like he kind of blames him for Noah getting abducted because he left her alone in the car to go and buy some condoms, you know. But okay, but now everything's fine, right? They're reunited. She's safe. Jonas is dead, which means that Rafaela is safe too, and they can all go home, right? Okay. Then, while they're at home, you would think that this is just a happy ever after situation, you know. Noah's in her room. Nick clandestinely sneaks into her room. They make out again. They confess their love for each other. They're like very in their hormones, right? So they're having their moment again. So it's fine. They're making out. Nick says the words. He's like, yeah, I love you. And she's like, oh, I love you too. You're like, this is happily ever after. The camera zooms out of the bedroom, and then we see Will and Rafaela on the porch in the garden watching Noah's bedroom window, and it's like super creepy because apparently they did see like their silhouettes kissing and more. It's like, oh my god, you know. Anyway, so they're like, we can't let this happen. No, we have to do something against this, right? And she's like, I don't know how, but we have to stop this. And this is the end of the film. Well, Noah is thinking that this is just the beginning of their story. Rafaela is like, this is the end of it. Right? And that's it. That's the first film. And you're like, ugh. If like the last moment hadn't been, it could have been a great standalone. Like, so if I were you, I would just forget about these last seconds because the sequel isn't any good. We'll get to that in the next video. So again, we're leaving off with these characters. In the next video we will meet some more characters. I have them ready here. So yeah, we'll go back, or we'll dig deeper into the actual problem that Rafaela has with these two dating. Because we're like, what is the actual problem of them dating? It's not the fact that they're siblings. No. Rafaela doesn't want them to date because the reason is like she's worried about her relationship with Will, because them dating means that her ideal family that she represents to the public is maybe not so ideal after all, because this is a bit messed up, right? People would be like, aren't they siblings? Right? So they would find this weird. And she's worried about her reputation now. Now that she's a rich wife, she's like, that matters, right? Reputation matters. So she's worried about that. Also, and this might be a reasonable worry of hers, like, she's 17, he's 22, like, they're pretty young. Chances are they're gonna break up. And that would make a family reunion a little awkward, right? But yeah, but I think the real reason Rafaela, like, evolves into, like, this whole villain of the series, which I think she kind of is that she's worried that her daughter might disrupt her new marriage. Because the thing is, when parents remarry, they usually think that this is their second shot at happiness, their second chance to, do it right this time, and they really cling to the idea of, like, this perfect happy family. Yeah, and she's threatening that. So I believe that. I believe that's the case. Okay, we'll see how that turns out in the sequel. Remember, like, this is the first film in a trilogy, so whenever you watch a romance trilogy, the arc is film number 1, people meeting, falling in love, overcoming obstacles to get together, happy ending for now. Sequel, trials and tribulations, right? And like, we need to get to the third film, right? So there will be much drama to come in the sequel, right? Okay, again, I really like the first film. I think it's fun to watch. It has a little bit of everything, like the car racing thing, like this whole sneaking around, being in secret because of the mean boyfriend. Like, all of it. It's fun to watch. I would recommend this. I can't say that for the sequel, right? So yeah, I'll leave you with this. I hope you enjoyed this recap of the film, and I will see you in the next video. Again, comment below if you've read the books and can enlighten me on the things that I questioned in this film, or leave some predictions for how the story will evolve if you haven't read the books. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.